Hello and welcome to episode 63 of the Ski Instructor Podcast. My name's Dave Burrows and I'm the director and owner of SnowPro Ski School based here in Val d'Illiers in Switzerland. You join me from a very snowy Val d'Illiers. Weirdly, it's been snowing all week. Badly timed really, because we could have done with this about 2 months ago, but never mind. It's always like this in April here. Just as the lifts close, we normally get a big dump of snow, or at least some snow. And that's the same as usual. So nice and cold here, just about when everyone was starting to get used to slightly warmer temperatures and getting ready for the summer. All of a sudden, -1 and snow on the ground. So there we go. End of season, usual for this region. We get these kind of end of season dump of snow, which everyone enjoys once all the tourists have departed. So. Yes, a bit unusual to be scraping snow off the car this morning, but actually you don't have to do that much scraping. If you just leave it, it just melts away because it gets quite quickly fairly hot. Anyway, last episode we did part 1 of Tom Gelly Revisited. I'm just going to take a pause on that one because there's an episode that I want to get out between that and part 2 of the Tom Gelly episode. So this week for episode 63, I have an interview with Derek Tate and Jamie Kagan. And you may have seen on social media that these guys, in conjunction with the Professional Ski Instructors of Canada, have launched, it's sort of a sister company over here in Europe, which is called the Professional Ski Instructors of Europe. And the framework for the Professional Ski Instructors of Europe is going to be more or less identical to the Professional Ski Instructors of Canada, except it's going to have a couple of European tweaks. But essentially the framework and the pathway and all of that sort of thing are the same. So these guys have launched that, and they are going to be sort of rolling out more and more information about that. I think this podcast is going to release roughly at the same time that more information is going to go live for them on this. So I took the opportunity to speak to Derek and Jamie and sit down and find out what it is that they're trying to do, what's it all about, and whether indeed, what the purpose of what they're doing is, because it's not like we're short of ski instructor associations here in Europe. And we have, we went over that in the interview and found, talked about what it was that these guys are trying to do and how their offering differs to other associations. We talked about what the pathway looks like and sort of some general commentary on sort of continuing professional development and training. And I think what they're trying to do and the direction that they're going to go is really, really very interesting. And I, for one, certainly will be going along to something, 1 or 2 of the courses that they're going to be offering in autumn, just to find out a little bit more and to get, to refresh in general on snow my sort of professional knowledge and have something coming from a different direction other than what I've had before from, PSIE and the Irish Association and also Swiss Snow Sports. So anyway, I'm going to basically, as soon as the music fades out, we're going to go straight into the interview here. The interview is about an hour and a bit long, and I very, very much hope that you enjoy this interview with Derek and Jamie. It was a lovely conversation to have, and I've put the link in the notes to this podcast as to where you can find out more information about what these guys are doing and what they are trying to do. So without further ado, enjoy the chat with Derek and Jamie from the Professional Ski Instructors of Europe. So I'm here with Derek Tate and Jamie Kagan, and we are here.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yeah, and we are here to talk about PSIE. So we already talked on a previous podcast about PSIC, and just to give the kind of listeners a bit of context, because I think anyone who listened to that, I did that podcast with the guys from PSIC really quite early on in their process. I wouldn't say it was just an idea, but it was certainly, if you listen back to that podcast, there's not a huge amount of detail in terms of what we talked about at that point. It was kind of, they had their idea and they had their direction, and they were just about to release all the detail and info. Now you guys are at a similar period, but as I understand it, with what you're doing for PSIE, you're basically taking their framework, so we can discuss at length kind of what it all looks like and everything like that. It's much more established than in that initial conversation that I had with those guys back then. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, so we're taking their structure, their pathway, bringing it to Europe, but we can delve in a bit more into that as we go through.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Good.
It might be good just for the listeners to, because all these acronyms going around, like PSIE and PSIC, just to remind you, it is the Professional Ski Instructors of Europe.
That is true, yeah. I'm assuming a certain amount of assumed knowledge, and I've also skipped the bit where I ask you to kind of talk about yourself and all that sort of stuff. Now, Derek, we know. Derek's been on the podcast. You're like a 2-time veteran, Derek. Like, you need...
That's right. I'm still desperately trying to catch up with Julian Griffiths, but I don't think I'll ever get there.
He's like my filler, so if I'm ever short for a bit of a thing, I just go to him. He happily talks, so it's, I don't think you'll ever catch up with him. And obviously, Jamie, you're based in Nenda there. I know you, but perhaps you can tell the listeners a little bit more about what you do there and what you're up to these days.
Yeah, cool. I'll give you a little bit of a history. So I've been in the industry since the kind of early 2000s, and I actually started in Canada. So I started up in Banff and then ended up in a resort called Silver Star. So I did my level 4 with the CSIA, and then in 2015, moved back to Europe and actually worked for Julian in Zermatt as technical director for a couple of years, and then I was co-director with someone there in 2017, and then moved to Nonda in 2018, and actually ran the ski school for Julian here for the first year. And then we ended up taking it as a franchise at the end of that season, and been here ever since. So here at Nonda we have the ski school, which is European snow sport, and then we have my company, which is Sommet Neige, which is a retail and rental shop, and then a training centre, effectively. So we run gap courses, kind of early season and then throughout the winter, and a level 3 and 4 training program.
Okay. And for those that don't know, I mean, Nenda is beautiful area. Like, I've skied there a fair bit, and it's, you've got some lovely skiing heading off of like one side of the top, if you like. You've got that lovely area at the top to teach people, and then you've got that sort of really super easy, cruisy kind of blue side back down to the bottom of the lift there as well.
Exactly, yeah.
The scenery's lovely, like, you've got these beautiful trees and stuff. It's really nice, and there's quite a lot of really decent sort of lift accessed off piste there as well, isn't there?
Really, really good. I think, I skied in Verbier a bunch before we moved here, but I actually think we're kind of perfectly situated because we can access all the itineraries in the 4 valleys within 20-30 minutes, and then obviously we're super easy access then to Bez and Tion as well. So the area is huge, and it's certainly from a training point of view, I think we have a really good location. Like you said, we have the runs and the trees on the front side here in Nonda, and the nice thing is everyone starts in Nonda but goes further afield.
Yeah.
So we can actually base ourselves here quite often and not have that much traffic, which is quite cool.
Yeah.
And if we need to go to the crowds, and we head over to Verbier when it's when we need to access certain terrain.
It's true, right? Like, I mean, I suppose in that way it's a little bit like the Port de Slay where we are. A lot of people use the Swiss, certainly from Le Creuset and Chambéry point of view. They get there to access France really fast and go and have a cheap lunch on the French side, and that's kind of what they, so you get all this kind of morning traffic that just disappears, and then those in the know stay on the Swiss side and take advantage of the decent snow. So
exactly that.
Yeah, it's cool. How's your season been, Derek? We're kind of closing down ski seasons here, there, and everywhere. We've got one more week here in Creuset. What about you? How's it going?
It's been as you say, it's been a little bit challenging at times, just with the ridiculously warm temperatures. But Chamonix has enough terrain that's high, so it's the cover's been good. Grand Montée, as always, is a really good area. So I've been skiing there just over the weekend. It was pretty decent. Grand Monte will stay open a bit longer. I think we've suffered. Places like Les Houches, Saint-Gervais itself have really had a challenging season. But then even over this side, Lake Contamine is good. Again, it's high enough that the actual cover on the piste has been very good.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a slightly strange season. It's just never been cold enough, really.
It's been worldwide though, from what I've seen. Like it's all my friends around the world. No one's had a fantastic winter. Like the States have now been hammered with snow the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But Canada started pretty slow, and I think it's been better, but it's not been a great season. And then even when I was in Japan for a week, they've had a pretty poor winter there as well. So it seems to be a bit global this year, which is strange.
Okay. That's interesting because the way it seems to go is we have a light winter and then North America gets slammed, exactly. Right? But even there, it didn't seem like they had a particularly amazing winter. And I don't know. I mean, is how it is, I suppose. But the interesting and challenging. I mean, I suppose from a ski school's director's point of view, when you have these kind of long periods of high pressure and nice weather, you don't get that many kind of weather cancellations or anything like that. So for me, like I think it's great. I really don't mind. But it does limit the amount of kind of really nice powder days that you have, which is few and far between this year. Anyway, certainly that was my experience. Yeah. So could you guys give for the professional ski instructors of Europe, how did this? I'd love to know the background. I'd love to know how this came about and how it sort of arrived, came into being. Be what it may. Obviously, there's some sort of Canadian connection there, and Derek knows everybody. So I'm guessing that's probably one way that it came about. But what sent you guys off in this direction?
Jamie, do you want to start maybe? And
I can do. I was in New Zealand actually when PSIC launched. Just finishing off the winter there, and I have a couple of buddies who were involved with the early setup of PSIC. So I knew about it, and originally for me, I got invited. I went over to Canada to do their LPT training, so their licensed professional trainers qualification. I wanted to learn more about it. I was super excited about their kind of philosophy, their purpose, their the adventure that they've been talking about. So I was excited about kind of the new project and learning more. And at the time, I was in the process of trying to sell for this coming October a new GAP program in Saas-Fee, with the idea of having a job camp opportunity in Canada afterwards, just because of some of the connections I have from the years I was over there. So I went over to Canada in November for for 3 days to do their training. Caught up with a lot of buddies. Got more and more excited about it. And then Derek was actually in Nonda, running a level 1 for me in, when was it? December, Derek, wasn't it? Early December?
December, that's right, yeah.
And we ended up just chatting, and Derek had become a member, had been invited to be part of the Sober Institute, and so we kind of got chatting, and we're like, do you know what? Maybe this could be done over here. And originally, like I said, I was just going to be a licensed course provider for them in Europe, just for PSIC. And then we just thought, well, this is an opportunity. Maybe we can do something different. And then it grew from there. And then, Derek, I'll let you add your little piece.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I didn't know about it as early as Jamie, because you certainly knew from being over in New Zealand. But so I just saw it when it came out, the same as everybody else, when the initial press release came out. But then as I saw who was involved, I was quite interested because the people setting it up, I got to know quite well when I was at Leve at Interski. I had the opportunity to ski with and spend time with those people. So yeah, I was very intrigued to learn more. Then I started to see that their values really related very closely to positive psychology, which is obviously one of my things. So I got quite excited that here was an organization that was starting up afresh and was really embracing this sort of holistic development of the person, bringing this sort of good character strengths and values, and it just was something I thought, I want to get involved in this. And that's really how it happened. Then they were setting up their Ski Pro Institute, as Jamie mentioned, and I got the opportunity to be the first person to deliver something for that back in January. We just, as Jamie said, we just started chatting and thought, wow, this could actually, you could run over here in Europe, and no reason why not. So why don't we get in touch with them and see if they think it's a good idea, and they did.
Okay, and so can we, before we go into the kind of the fine details of what it looks like, are you just so I know, you're taking basically what the program that PSIC have, all of their kind of instructor pathway or whatever you want to call it, and essentially replicating it over here in Europe. So it's interchangeable, in fact.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, exactly that. So the pathway, I mean, we can delve into the pathway a bit more if you want, Dave. It's so it's the same 4-tiered system that they have. We will be adding additional kind of modules that are relevant to working in Europe. Mm-hmm. So things like we will be writing this summer an equivalent to the EMS, effectively, European Mountain Security. So we'll have a course that will be available next winter for people who want to work in Europe, and it will match what is currently set by the delegated act, I guess. We'll add a language test for anyone that wants to work in Europe as well, mm-hmm. And probably a second discipline. You know, people can do a second discipline with whoever they like, and we'll recognise it, just so it aligns more to the kind of the European model, I guess. But I think the cool thing with this is it's not just the pathway; it will be a dual membership. So if you do a course in Canada, you'll become a member of PSIE as well, and vice versa. And I think that's the kind of unique thing that's never been done before.
Okay. And then, so if I'm a member of the PSIC, then I'm also going to be a member of the PSIE and vice versa. That gives me presumably opportunities. For example, if I have the ability to go to Canada, I think I'm too old for it, but if I have the ability to go to Canada and get a work visa or something, I could take my qualifications portable, and I could it would be recognised over there by ski schools in Canada.
100%, yeah.
100%, yeah. When we discussed it with the PSIC guys, and we have regular meetings with them now. Obviously, we talked about this borderless qualification process. Mm-hmm. So you can continue your education kind of wherever you are in the world with one of the organisations, and it is something that's new, but it's been, I think, I wouldn't say it's an issue, but it's certainly something I had to deal with when I came across from Canada. I was a Canadian level 4, but I'd never worked in Europe, so I had to figure out what pathway to go into. And at the time, although the Canadian level 4 was recognised, it was hard to get the equivalent kind of salary as maybe a European qualification.
For sure.
So I ended up doing my BASI level 4, passed that, and then I did my Swiss brevet, much like yourself. Mm. So it was, there was money having to be spent and more time dedicated to having to requalify for Europe. And I know just for my, the guys and girls that we train here in Nonda every season, they go off and work in New Zealand, Australia, Japan, Canada, and they might be quite transient for quite a few winters.
Yeah.
And I know I get messages of them quite regularly saying, what should I do? Should I go and do my level 3 in Australia with APSI? Where can I do a second? So the questions have been there for quite a while, and I think what's quite cool and unique with this is it's going to be the first organisation where people don't have to worry about that. They should be able to continue their education development, and you're hearing the same stuff, which is quite nice. You're not having to relearn a new system.
Yeah.
To pass an exam. So yeah, we're excited by it. It's quite cool.
Yeah, it's quite cool. Yeah, it's certainly unique, right? I mean, I suppose within other organisations, I don't know. I know that Swiss Snow Sports has a international equivalence or recognition program, and I think BASI do a similar thing. But it's a sort of it's assessed by someone sitting at a desk, right? So, and certainly with Switzerland, I think there's 2 pathways that you can go, so it's not always clear. So you could go like a government route, which is more expensive and I heard more arbitrary, and then you can go the Swiss Snow Sports rule, where the qualifications are more kind of the equivalencies are more set. They know, because I guess they see more applications, right? But it's certainly interesting that there hasn't been before anything that is sort of genuinely just straight up portable between two countries. Is that something that you think will always only be limited to Canada and Europe, or do you think that will roll out to other places, for example, Southern Hemisphere skiing or other places? Is that something you thought about?
We're running this year in New Zealand with Rookie Academy. Mm-hmm. So the qualification will be down there. I don't know exactly what courses they're running yet. I'll be down there myself in August, but I know they are running, I think, level 2 and level 3 down there. Mm-hmm. And then we're in talks to run some stuff in Japan next year as well, which will be quite fun. And that'll be more of a joint thing. So it'll be PSIC, PSIE collaborating for some courses over there. And I think that's again one of the unique things about it. You might find that at some point that you end up with a PSIC and PSIE examiner running the courses for you, which would be quite cool as well. And so it's the important thing for us is having that collaboration with those guys across the pond, and hence the regular meetings. And Derek and I might go over to Canada in November to catch up with everyone over there. So it's cool. It's very interesting.
Okay. Yeah, I think just to add to what Jamie's saying there, we also see the trainer, the licensed professional trainer for PSIE and PSIC has also been portable. So if I'm a trainer for PSIE and I happen to be over in Canada, I could deliver a course for PSIC.
Okay.
So it's portable in that sense, not just as a member with your qualification. So it's
for sure, because you're teaching the same thing, right? That's it should be identical. Okay, but say and I don't know how it works. I do kind of know how it works in New Zealand, but I'm going to jump to one of the topics that I have in my head. But we were talking when I talked to the PSIC guys in the initial interview that I did, which is kind of good actually, because it's almost like a part 2, because if you're the same, I got my part 2 that I was going to do with those guys anyway, so this is excellent. But if one of their sort of stated aims when we spoke to them was about kind of working with industry, was their phrase. Working with industry to them, when we expanded on it, was like talking to the ski schools, or it wasn't so much the ski schools because it's Canadian, right? So it's more talking to the mountain or the resort, which is a slightly different concept to what us Europeans would understand. But and finding out more what they would want from a well-rounded ski instructor than compared to, say, their European equivalents, where everyone's kind of out doing their own thing. Now, if for example, New Zealand, certain places there, which I think there's not that many independent places, but I think some places they are, you'll know more about it than me, I haven't skied there. But the corporation owns the mountain and all the infrastructure and all the same format as the US and Canada. So are they going to be accepting of PSIEC qualifications in that respect then? Is that something you're working towards? Where you've got the same framework model? With
regards to PSIC, that in Australia and New Zealand there are ski schools that are recognising PSIC. So as a dual member, we hope that'll be the same case. We are going to be contacting all the ski schools just to make them more aware of how the dual membership will work. I know Mark from the PSIC is already kind of starting that process. Mm-hmm. And because it's the same pathway, same qualification, same material, we're hoping people don't see any difference in that. But I know certainly there are people already going down to New Zealand and Australia this coming winter who are PSIC members. So I think those relationships have already been made within that kind of hemisphere. But you're completely right. Within Europe, that's our job for the summer is to do the same thing. But we've already done that. We've already started to have initial chats with ski schools in Switzerland and in Europe about recognising the qualification, because there will be PSIC members who are European who have probably done a gap course or something in Canada. this winter just gone, who will be probably applying for jobs this coming, for this next winter. You might even get some yourself, Tate.
I was going to say, if anyone's got a European passport, you call me. Don't call Jamie, call me.
Yeah.
So I suppose that's where it's going to be slightly more. I think where you've got that corporate structure and that corporate setup, right? So if I go to Vale Corp and I say, hey, we've got this amazing thing, that's quite an easy sell for them, and they can say, yeah, fine, we can recognise who we want because we own the mountain, right? But if I'm, that's a harder thing for you guys to do. I imagine, like say, you're working on it all summer, but where you've already got kind of national structures and independent bodies regulating ski instructors on the mountain, where do you start with all that? It must be tremendously complex, I can imagine.
You want to go, Derek?
Yeah, no.
You left that one to Derek, I noticed.
There will be a lot of work involved.
Yeah.
I suppose Jamie's thrown that one at me.
Yeah.
I can answer as well, sorry.
Yeah, no, there's of course, there's a lot of work involved because there's a lot of ski schools out there. So a lot of it's creating awareness that we exist and that the qualifications are people are getting these qualifications. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of people to contact for sure. But ski schools in Switzerland can generally employ whoever they want. So that's certainly one market that's open. Austria are pretty flexible on who they employ as well. So as long as people have the right passport, then I think it is just an awareness game for all these ski schools, and letting them know that we're out there.
To go back to your other question, though, Derek, like Dave, with what the guys in Canada did, they got they called it their industry steering committee, which is what you were referring to, with ski school directors, resort owners, various people, kind of to help guide them on what is maybe needed from a ski pro. We are going to do that here in Europe, and we've already reached out to a few ski schools and people to see if they'd be interested in being part of a European version of that, because it is different. Like the clientele that you get in Zermatt, it can be maybe very different to what you might get in Nonda or the Porte Soleil, and having an instructor that has an awareness of how to operate within those different resorts is important, and that's something that we feel that we can add value when we're running courses, so that they're a better pro for all the ski schools that employ them. It's something we have very unique in Europe is like the schools programs that come down from the UK or Belgium in their bus loads to resort. That's quite a unique product, and probably most of your ski school have gone through that process of working a few weeks in those places. And again, that's something which we don't train that on a course, but maybe we can add something as part of an extra module, an e-learning module, or we can add elements on snow to make that instructor more prepared for that environment. So so that's where the industry steering committee, I think, will have a lot of value in Europe, and like the guys are finding in Canada, they're getting feedback from the industry steering committee with what's working, what's not working, what they'd like to see more of, and that's definitely the way we want to go.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's something that I've got to be honest with you, I do struggle a little bit with my own ski school. Is that some of the instructors, especially some of the newer ones that we've had, it's curious because not all of them struggle with it, but some of them, I think there's a value to, I think we've all done it, right? There's a value to going and doing the sausage machine learning, teaching at some point, right? You've got to go, you've got to go somewhere where they're just going to throw people at you and you can make your mistakes on their time. I've done it. I've done it. I've done my fair share of hours of collective lessons, 3 different languages, different ages, 8, 10 kids in a group. One goes to the toilet, you've all got to go, like all that sort of stuff, right? And the people that don't do that come in, I think, you don't realise how lucky you are when you get to arrive in a ski school that only does private lessons. It's like mine, right? And it's very, very, it's very, very tricky to appreciate what you've got unless you've seen the other end of that. the other end is like the mass market, ski teaching, which I think we've all done. And I think the better instructors have done a bit of that, and they do, they work out strategies to cope with that kind of thing. And it's certainly important. There's plenty of ski schools that do that kind of volume work. And it's not a very easy thing to juggle and have that kind of mental process going on of like, how much can I get, how much teaching can I get done here in amongst all this group management that I've got to do that is nothing to do with teaching.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, do you know, it's interesting, like, we have our gap course here. And of course, a lot of the candidates we have, they're in their early 20s, it's their first year away gap course. And then they work for us or one of the other ski schools and resorts, and they pretty much do private lessons. Mm-hmm. And then they might stick with us for a couple of seasons, train for their level 3 and work for us. And we actively try to push them down to New Zealand, Australia, Canada, to at least go and experience exactly what you just described.
Yeah.
Because it makes them a more rounded instructor to not think, because let's be honest, like in Switzerland, what they experience is full-day private, nice lunch.
Yeah.
1 or 2 people. Yeah. It's not quite the same as going to teach in the rain and in Australia with 12 kids behind you.
No, it's not. And that is it. I think it's like what would you call it? It's like a initiation thing that you kind of got to do. You got to do those hard yards, right? Like, I remember PK telling me stories about going to work in Austria and he's sleeping in like mice-infested barns and all sorts of stuff, like just to kind of, get on the ladder somehow. And I don't know, but you run the risk when you have this conversation. You run the risk of sounding like that sort of old man shouting at the wind, going, "Oh, you guys don't know you're born. We used to have it much harder in our day," and all that sort of stuff. Well,
I think I say that every year to our new groups that come in. I always tell the same story of our first year in Canada. We stayed in a motel right kind of in the town, and it's a truck stop town, so it's a big town where there's not a huge amount there. But we had to do our washing up and our clothes washing in the bath for that first season, because there was nothing else around. But that was, when you're 19, 20, that was fine. You kind of got on with it. But.
Yeah, it's true. It's absolutely true. Yeah. So that's super interesting. But so that's really going to be your summer's work. Is you've got to, I guess, be going around and talking to, what would it be, like national bodies or people like me who run ski schools, or just everyone? Like, I guess you've got a big list.
I guess a bit of both.
Yeah,
a bit of both. Yeah. I mean, certainly conversations with ski schools, and between Derek and I, I think we know quite a lot of ski school owners, so we can approach them. What the guys in the PSIC effectively did was they sent an equivalence package which broke down exactly what content was covered in their courses to the ski schools in New Zealand and Australia, and we'll do something similar here, so people have at least a very good grasp on paper as to what is being delivered.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I think Derek and I, when we spoke about this to start with, it's the people involved with us and with PSIC, none of us are new to the industry. We've all been in it quite a long time. Mm-hmm. So I think certainly the guys in Canada, they can stand by the awesome content they've created. And the quality that comes out at the end of the day is what matters. So as long as we stand by the quality of the instructor that we produce, I think we can approach ski schools and guarantee them that there'll be some good instructors available for them if they want to employ them.
Okay. Do you mind if, like, let's get into the weeds of that a little bit. Like, if we can break down the 4 levels and what we can expect at the various levels. So, someone comes to me, they've got the right passport, or the golden ticket of a Swiss work permit somehow. They're looking and they're saying to me, "Yeah, I've got a PSIE X." Like, where would the various levels equate to, and what's in them? Do you mind breaking it down to that level of detail?
Yeah, well, I think the technical outcomes will be quite similar to the other 4 level tiered systems that exist. So, you can expect that somebody with a level 1 will be fairly similar outcome technical standards, level 2, etc. So, the level 1 will be, you can correct me if I'm wrong, will be 4 days that we're doing. So it'd be similar to what other organizations are doing. Level 2, 6 days. Again, so that's similar to what other people are doing. We will literally, you can actually go on the PSIC website now and you can look at the actual breakdown of the what the outcome or the program is for those courses.
Yeah. No, that's actually what I'm doing right now. So, okay. Cool. All right. And you can take the level 1, I see here, at 14 years old. Is that right?
In Canada, you can, yeah. That'll be a little different for us, because that's just down to their insurances. It's the way the ski schools work the run. You can operate as an assistant in Canada, I think, at 14.
Wow, cool.
Yeah. So I don't think they're necessarily teaching by themselves, but they work within kind of beginner areas. But it's a lot easily kind of managed when the resort owns everything.
Yeah, for sure, right? And you can make almost like an apprenticeship, I guess, where you sort of for the next year or two you're picking up little ones in the garden. Yeah. Okay. Oh, cool. Wow.
Yeah, and then going on what Derek said, for then level 3 for us, with the same PSIC, it's 9 days, so 3 days pre skiing prep, effectively. It's called skiing skills.
Yeah.
And then teaching skills 3 days, and then a 3-day assessment. So in Europe that will operate either with 6 days kind of pre-course, and then a 3-day assessment separate. But we could also split them into 3-3-3 throughout the season to make it a little bit more manageable for people to maybe not have to take as much time off work, effectively, in a big block.
I'm curious to know more about whether you are going to separate out the assessment, because I think that's one of the biggest hang-ups that I used to have, certainly about PSIE, not so much, the Swiss one, you show up and you just got to be able to do it, right?
Yeah.
But the PSIE one was always a bit of a mix, because there was some teaching going on, but also they were assessing you at the same time, and it was like a very, very weird environment to be in. It didn't really seem to, for me, it didn't seem to be one thing or the other. And then at the end, you'd got this kind of, you made it or you didn't make it, but you never really knew. And I always found that quite interesting. I always thought that I think that's what they do with the other Canadian thing. They have like a set assessment, don't they? And it's like,
exactly.
This is the assessment day. Come along.
When I did the Canadian CSIA, it's exactly that. It's effectively a ski off.
Yeah.
For the skiing part, and then a teaching day where you get assessed by a couple of examiners. So ours will be 3 days of assessment, or for level 4 it will be 4 days of assessment, but it is continuous assessment, so probably closer to what you experienced with PSIE. So there'll be outcomes that you have to hit within your skiing, and the same with the teaching, and then the structure of the day will for the 4 days will be skiing around the mountain, setting up environments and scenarios where those outcomes can hopefully be met.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. Like, it's the hardest thing. That format is harder on the educator than the candidate, because if you come out at the end of it and you're still not sure where you're at, maybe the educator hasn't done their job right over those 4 days. And that's something that obviously we'll have to work on as part of the training body to make sure is done well. But it's the guys in the PSIC have been running it that way this season.
Okay.
As a continuous assessment.
Just to add, I think continuous assessment is definitely a better approach than just like a ski off.
Yeah.
But it is, as Jamie quite rightly says, to do continuous assessment requires quite a degree of skill on the part of the trainer, and I think that's why some associations have shied away from it, because it's so much easier to just line people up and give them a run, or even put them in, and just assess that run. Whereas to do it continually and make sure that people know how they're doing, so that it's not like a surprise at the end, that does take a lot of skill.
Yeah.
But that shouldn't mean we don't try and do that, because ultimately it's a nicer way to be assessed, if because you have lots of opportunities to hit the targets or the outcomes. So that is our goal. We want to do that, and we want to do it well.
Okay. Oh, and I notice here. So now I'm in the level 3 sort of thing, and so in the level 1, it's quite, I wouldn't say it's vague, but there's certain things that you've got to be able to hit. But here it gets much more specific in terms of what you should be able to do at level 3 level.
As far as the teaching, the skiing outcomes.
Yeah. Which is super.
Yeah, okay. But I suppose to go back to your original point, as a 4-tier system, it will align with most other 4-tier systems there. So a level 1 should be able to teach up to beginner introduction to plow turn, to a parallel turn. Mm-hmm. Level 2 a little bit beyond that, and then obviously level 3 and 4 should be teaching kind of more advanced to expert levels. And obviously the thing they have in between, which will have the same, is the LPT course, which is a licensed professional trainer course. That doesn't necessarily mean you become a trainer straight away. It's an extra course that you can do where you can learn how to deliver information to someone who is trained to be an instructor.
Okay, so that sits in between the 3 and the 4?
In the PSIC at the moment, it sits in between the 2. We actually haven't discussed where we position ours. I think we'll do the same, because it's not a guarantee that you're a trainer at that spot, but it gives you new tools, right? It's because it's one thing to deliver information to a client in a certain way, but being able to do that from a trainer's perspective so that someone can learn is a new skill. I think that could actually help people towards their level 4 teaching modules anyway, having that additional kind of skill within there.
I think it's quite an attractive thing for ski schools as well, because ski schools often are training people to be instructors within the programs, so to have people who've done this particular course and therefore have those skills, while they might not be delivering those courses for that association, they still have done a course that helps them be better at training instructors who are preparing for exams in whatever association they're doing their exams.
Yeah, it's very true. I had to dust off my a trainer hat this season, because we had 2 distinctly different levels. So we sort of ended up running, I can't remember what it was, like a short turn clinic or something we called it. It's quite, it's not. Well, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it was, it's ever so slightly intimidating, to stand there in front of your peers and, deliver what you think makes for decent short turns and how all the mechanics go together. And especially when you're making it up off the top of your head and you hadn't done any preparation beforehand. But yeah, it was actually really, really interesting. The bit that I hadn't been prepared for, so I kind of worked on everything else, but the bit that I hadn't been prepared for was the blank faces and the complete lack of anything coming back. In my mind, I had it as this sort of really cool discussion forum where we could really get into the weeds of what made a decent short turn and how it all fit together. And in the end, it was just me talking at a bunch of kind of mirrored visors, and I was like, oh, okay, guys, right, well, fine, maybe. And I came away, the bit that I came away with, so actually I'm surprised how much you guys don't know, was the bit that I came away with that. So there is a huge level knowledge gap, I think, between level 2 and 3, and maybe then again between a 3 and a 4 or a 3 and a brevet or whatever you want to call it, where, and I think that might be the difference between someone who's doing it just as kind of a winter job and they know just enough to kind of deliver decent lessons, but then I think if you get to say level 3 or this LPT level or level 4 level, you're actively interested in it. And I think that's the difference. In your spare time, you go out and you research the mechanics of how things go together and why, and you make connections. So, I learned that thing over there, and now that relates to this. And I think when you jump to those higher levels, there's another level of wanting to learn deeply and connect it all together. And I think that's what struck me as the difference. That's what I came away thinking from that clinic that I delivered that day. I don't know whether you get the same blank looks on some of your exams that you guys take. I would imagine you get your fair share of it.
I think you do, yeah, of course you do. It's there can be lots of factors to that though as well. Not wanting to put your hand up in front of a group and actually make a comment. I think that people struggle with that quite a lot. But I do agree. I think there is a knowledge gap, definitely. We actually talked about that on a PSIC call the other day, about, kind of the knowledge of a level 2 instructor and how we can improve that with some maybe e-learning modules or extra stuff that can give them a few more tools, or, whether it's ski analysis or just how to present yourself to a group of people. It's those are the bits we've got to try to add to it, I guess.
One of the ones I thought was super interesting was there's a sort of a lack of. I think there's a lack between the level or in the level 2 of the. I know that you can only put in so much, right? So I guess some stuff has to go, but there are certain biomechanical ways that the body works when it's in ski boots that it just won't do certain other things because the movement is not there to be made. And certain bits only work with other bits, and certain bits only work in a certain way when they're flexed or whatever. And that kind of deep stuff doesn't filter down to level 2 because you just haven't got the time to deliver all that kind of stuff. I'm guessing, right? When you're delivering a level 1 and 2 exam, you probably don't have the time to go into that or the depth, because you've got 8 candidates on the exam as well, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess that could be a module at some point that you could chuck into something and say, well, look, here's a whole. There was a bit in the ISA. It used to be in the ISA. I've still got the book somewhere. It's over there. An introduction to the structure of the body. And then there's another one, another blue one. That used to be in the BASI 3, but they took it out. I've still got them, and I've read them cover to cover. They're in there.
Yeah.
That was back when Derek took my ISA level.
Yeah, I think one of the cool things about the what the PSIEs or PSIC, I'll get my own acronyms mixed up now. But they're kind of e-learning stuff that they're creating is excellent. So that preparatory stuff that people do before the courses is just really, really well done. And that means we can actually include more content because, as you say, there's so much content, so much stuff that you have to try and deliver during the course time itself. So I think that e-learning components is really, really valuable, and it is done really well. So obviously you have to come on the courses to find that out.
Yeah, you will. Yeah. But I think it's interesting, Dave, what you said. Like, we had a conversation with someone as part of we approached them about the industry steering committee as a ski school owner, and the feedback on that call was, we've almost. The guest service has been done so well now, kind of from the ski instructor qualifications, that some of the technical content, analysis content that someone should have, or the skills they should have to be able to analyse a skier is maybe lacking. And, I think a lot of the associations have done very well at kind of developing an instructor to be able to create a great experience for the guests.
Yeah.
That we've maybe gone a little bit too far that way, and we need to find a way to get the meat and potatoes and the knowledge behind skiing at that level 2 standard. And so that for us, that was super interesting on one call. That's something we then went back to the PSIC guys with and said, well, look, maybe that's something we do over the summer and create a module on that to better prepare an instructor as a level 2.
Yeah, I think that's really valid. The guest experience is important, but I think you've got to be able to back it up with spotting stuff that is important to clients, right? Because I don't know in the modern age, like modern age, how old do I sound? But like in the age of people, everywhere you look, there's people taking pictures of themselves to put on social media, right? And so is it that relevant anymore that your ski instructor knows technically that you can see that one magic thing in your skiing and then could say, if you just flexed your ankle a little bit more, you'd have a better turn, for example. Is that important anymore, or is it about showing them the best spots? I know you've got to judge each one, but I wonder, as a society, which direction we're going in and how important that technical knowledge is anymore. I think you've got to have a bit of it, but you soon get found out, right? If a half-decent skier turns up at a lesson and your technical knowledge is lacking, you soon get found out.
Yeah. It's quite situational though, isn't it? I think, reflecting on, me where I've taught in New Zealand and Canada and in Europe, the clientele is very different and their expectations are very different. And so you're right, sometimes you can get too much technical focus to the wrong client and all they want to do is just be guided around.
Yeah.
Switch off, not have to think about where they're going because they have a high-powered job in the city. Whereas you go to New Zealand and, the mountains there they're a bit more like the Scottish Highlands. They can be a bit rough, a bit ready, and they want to learn. So you've got to be on it, but you've only got the same chairlift that you're lapping all day. Yeah. So your technical knowledge is really good because you've got to be thinking on the spot to make it still engaging for the client. So I think there's room for both, but like you said, we just got to make sure the instructors out there have both those tools available effectively. So depending where they work, they can adapt.
Yeah, for sure. It's something that we've struggled with, I think, again this season. We've done more training than we've ever done before, but still, for me, it doesn't feel like enough because we're just too busy. We don't have any, it's probably the same with you guys, right? Like, how do you find time to train people when you're just constantly working? Like the guys were just on their knees again this year, and I'm just got to find a way of making a better balance during the ski season. But what do you do if you're a ski instructor over the season? Do you want more training or do you want to earn more money? I think most of them would say money, but I don't know.
Yeah,
it's
no, and I think what attracted me with the PSIC though originally is they had one of their kind of sayings was education before qualification or something like that, and it's something that I think that really grasped me because I don't think associations out there do enough just training. There's usually a pin or a certificate at the end of it, so that puts it out a bit of pressure to people to just go and do a course. And certainly what we'll be doing in Europe with PSIE, and I know in Canada they're doing already, is just offer training courses.
Yeah,
2 days, 3 days, and just come and gain a bit more knowledge, whether it's on teaching the technical side. Because you're right, once you get into the winter, it's hard. It's really hard to develop yourself. But if you can find short courses to do either pre-season, end of season, or even in the quiet weeks in January, it can certainly make your job a lot easier as an instructor. Well,
that probably dovetails quite nicely into the idea that when we launch, the membership, once that becomes available for PSIE, there's going to be lots of instructors out there who are already qualified with other associations, and our message will be, come and join us because you're going to be able to access more training. You're going to become a more rounded instructor, but we're not going to be saying to those people, give up the association you're a member of.
Yeah.
Because I think you probably agree, Dave, as well, being a ski school owner, that some of the best instructors you have are ones who are members of several associations, and have actually got training from a variety of sources. So So that's very, very much our message. We want to say, look, here's more training that you can get. So come and join us. And and as Jamie was saying, it's about the journey of education that we're trying to get people to love the learning side.
Yeah,
and that's what we want to try and achieve.
I think that's certainly something from my perspective that I would do. I very much enjoy. Well, have you guys ever been on a Swiss Snow Sports refresher?
Yeah.
Okay. Don't get refreshed much. You get refreshed much with coffee.
Nobody involved lunch.
And who you know. But I love them. They're lovely occasions. I did learn something from my last one, but I've been on a lot of refreshers in the last 10 years. You're lucky if you come away with something. But one of the things that I've really wanted to do in the last few years, I nearly signed up for now who was it? Is it Scott Hammond? Was he doing a telemark level 2 recently in Hintertux?
Yeah,
2 and 3.
He did it in Hintertux in November.
Yeah, and I was like, I would really, really love to go and do that. But it was something like 10 days. And I think the Basie 2 one, when it ran or something, I was thinking, well, why do I'm not asking to be excused from the whole course, right? But I know a lot of stuff. Why do I have to go and do 2 sets of 5 days of that? Or can't I just turn up for the technical bit? I've only, that we shouldn't sound like a dick, right? I'm a busy guy. I haven't got 10 days to go to Hintertux and ski about for 10 days. So for me, if there was someone offering training, any kind of training, that was just like 3 days somewhere that I could go along to relatively easily, I would go, definitely, just to learn. Because that's why I started this podcast. I've told you this before, Derek, haven't I? And just to find out more, get better at skiing or learn something new, But I don't want to do that over a 10-day format because I just haven't got time. And I suspect I'm not alone in that either.
No, I think you very much wouldn't be. No. Yeah.
Can you just to kind of get us back slightly on track, this sort of overriding concept that PSIE has got about the adventure the guys were talking about this initially when I spoke to them, but can you kind of summarise for us what that is, or what the concept is?
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, the whole idea of the adventure is that we want to get this message across that every time somebody comes skiing with you as an instructor, it should be an adventure. Mm-hmm. You know, it should be fun. Mm. So that is the primary goal that the client, the student, whatever we want to call them, the guest, they want to have a fun time. You know, and we're there as an instructor to make sure they're safe. And so, you know, the old acronym of safety, enjoyment, learning, as far as the instructor is concerned, that's absolutely correct. That's the order. Mm. But as far as the learner or the guest is concerned, it's enjoyment first. Mm-hmm. Because they want you to look after the safety side. They want to have a good time. So if it's going to be a really good adventure, then the enjoyment has to be the thing that you know they're getting from it. So that's one of the overriding aspects of it. I would say, Jamie?
No, I 100% agree. But I think that goes right through from the client up into the instructor training through their certification process.
Yeah,
it is an adventure. It can be hard, but it could be super fun learning, and it's. I think that gets lost a little bit at the high end because there's a pin or a certificate attached to it. Mm. You lose the fun in wanting to learn and become better because there's that pressure of that ticket, and that's why I fell in love with that kind of concept they had of education before qualification. That, you know, the amount of level 3s or people I've met who have tried to attain the level 3 and 4, not been successful, and then they stop trying to learn more. Mm. Maybe because there's not something out there they can do, but that process can be hard, and let's be honest, it can be hard. But if we can try to bring that adventure into it, that it can be hard, but with some enjoyment as well, then hopefully that brings up the quality of, you know, the instructors in the industry, and that reflects back on the clientele that come in through the ski schools.
Yeah, and that for me is, you know, the difference when we talk about a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. Yeah, you know, we want to develop people who have a growth mindset. As Jamie said, it doesn't mean it's not going to be hard and there's not going to be setbacks, but you have a mindset that says, well, okay, I can cope with that, I can deal with it, and I can get better. And so, yeah, as you say, it's this adventure runs right through, not just for the instructor working with their guest, but for instructors going right through the system. It should be, you know, an enjoyable journey that people are on, you know, and wherever they are within the, you know, the system, as it were. Mm.
And how did that manifest itself when you went over to Canada to kind of experience that, you know, to experience the, how would you say, the system for the first time? You went over there to do, I think, a license course provider course or whatever it was, or some sort of equivalence. But was that running through that session? Did it feel different to going through some of the other stuff you've done before?
It was interesting because I went across there and it was the LPT training. So it was actually, most of the people there were already trainers within an organisation. And you know, I guess for the guys at the time, this was the first time they were presenting the material. So it was quite a lot of discussion as to what the adventure is, and pretty much what Derek came up with just then. That's what we all came to determine was you know, the fact is we've got to have a fun, safe environment to promote the learning. But if we can create the sensation of enjoyment through the milestones, that was the big word they used a lot, which I really liked, is the milestones that people hit in their progression as a skier, and celebrating those milestones, however small they are. That was the big thing I took away from it, which I thought that's really quite cool, actually, you know, because for us, you know, the milestone might be skiing a bump run top to bottom or teaching, you know, a candidate to get out a bump run top to bottom, you know, in control. Whereas for that learner that puts their skis on for the first time, that enjoyment from just gliding can be such a thrill. That's the sort of thing we've got to harness and make an environment where they feel that enjoyment every single time and celebrate those milestones, because that's a step to their skiing journey to be able to explore the mountain.
Yeah.
Hopefully that answers that.
No, it does. It's interesting because I kind of think of it in the same way often. You know, when you sort of working with clients and you're taking them from sort of point A to point B, and it's a big deal, right? And every time, you know, say you've got a day one person and then you go back the next day and they've done 3 hours. By the time they've done the following 3 hours, they're 100% more experienced than they were the day before. And that has a diminishing return. But essentially you are working you're working towards a place where you can go and explore the whole mountain, right? Like that's what we want. This is, you know, skiing is originally conceived as a way to get from A to B. That's what it was used for back in 4,000 years ago in Norway or whatever. You know, there's planks of wood stuck to your feet, right? I want to go over there, but I'm in this snowy landscape. So how do I get to there? And you know, like you can kind of make it whatever you want to be. But I think it is important. It is important to kind of put those steps together. And it's like how you break down a skill, right? In any given sort of teaching scenario, you know, you take the whole thing and you break it down in its component parts and you put them all back together again, and then eventually you get to the end goal. You know, that's how you do it. It's if you start with the whole piece, you know, today we're going to ski down to that restaurant over there as well. Actually, that looks really, really intimidating. But if I break it down into little steps, and each one of those steps we can celebrate and say, hey, that's really, really cool. That's great, isn't it? Isn't that a much better way of doing things?
100%. I mean, our role is to get the client hooked, right? We need to grow the pie.
Yeah.
So any client that comes through the door, if you can get them that thrill, that excitement from gliding on skis for the first time, and hopefully they're hooked for life. That's what we need to make happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. Let me, if I can, give me a practical example. I only really know about Switzerland, so I don't know. No, I don't know how any other countries work. Not really anymore. Derek, you'll know more about France, I guess. But if I've got, you know, Jamie, as well as I do, because you've got ski instructors working in Linda. But what we have to do as Swiss ski school owners is that when we've got an employee, we have to submit it on a list, and we have to submit that list to the canton. So in Valais, it's Montagne Pro. We have to put everyone on a list to Montagne Pro, and in Vaud, it's something else. So there's a different list you have to put people on. But the on that list, you know as well as I do that you've got people with brevet, so you would be on that page.
Yeah.
Then there's a middle page which is like qualified instructors, or I think it's like, what do they call it? It's instructors formés. So with some sort of ISA recognised qualification or something like that. And then there's a third page which is like non-formé, where they've done an internal ski school training. If I've got a PSIE instructor, which is super specific, so sorry for all the Canadian and American and all the other listeners who are listening to this, is like really in the weeds of stuff. But as a ski school owner in Switzerland, where would I put, can I put PSIE in that qualification box that I need to put in for the formed instructors? Yeah, or do they go on the next page?
That's a good question, actually. I can't answer right now. I guess I've always understood that the formé would be something they've gone through a process of formation.
Yeah.
I didn't think, I might be wrong, I didn't think it was specific to ISIA qualifications or recognised.
No, I don't know either. That's why I asked the question. I'm curious.
I think in the past I've actually had a few instructors who have done some level 3 training here with us that weren't with ISIA qualifications, and I put their qualification body down and it was fine.
Okay, all right.
But that'll be one of the processes we go through. You know, that'll be an email I'll do this summer.
Yeah.
To clarify that.
I don't even know who that would go to. Would that go to Montagne Pro or Swiss Snow Sports?
Montagne Pro, I'm guessing. Yeah,
I guess so.
Yeah,
because I imagine, because that's, I think, where your work is going to come, isn't it, for both of you, is to kind of work out I guess there's a similar process in France, and if you've got a full cert guy coming, or a PSIE 4 guy coming, wants to work in France, he's got the right passport or something, I'm guessing, I don't know where you go with that.
Well, France, in many ways, is much simpler, because for the foreign instructor coming in, you either have your level 4 or you don't. So it's, you know, unless you're joining, you know, going through work as a stagiaire. So, you know, you need a level 4 qualification. So what we'll be doing is looking to make sure that our system meets the requirements of the Delegated Act, which is EU law.
Yeah.
And so that will be our avenue there. So as long as everything meets that, then a level 4 in the future, PSIE level 4, will meet those requirements.
So will it need to have a speed test, I guess?
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. But that would be the same for Italy as well.
Oh, yeah, of course, right.
So it'll be the same, those same requirements will still be there. You'll need to do the speed test and the mountain security courses.
Yeah.
So yeah, for us, then it'll just be making sure we have access to that, the same as any other organisation.
Yeah.
Hence why we're going to be creating an off-piste course, which will be run by International Mountain Guides, right? So it complies with what the EU are currently asking for, is a set criteria.
Yeah.
The CTT off-piste course has to have. We will create that, and then one of our jobs will be, like Derek said, is to approach the EU for that recognition.
Yeah. What about areas where you've got sort of? I'm thinking. I'm just literally, my mind is buzzing with like areas where you can work with the non-full cert qualifications. So, for example, you go to Austria, you can take the Anwärter, and then you can just get going right in an Austrian ski school. I'm guessing you'll be doing some sort of recognition thing with them. The other one might be Aosta Valley, or other autonomous regions within Italy, where you can currently work with a non-full cert as well. I guess. What's the other one? Trentino, is that the one where it's Germanic sometimes? But you guys have got a lot of people to call, haven't you?
We've got some work to do.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Thanks, Dave.
Sorry. I'm available.
The nice thing is we understand the landscape. We've been here. We've worked in the industry for long enough. We've got to go and do the work.
Yeah.
To get that recognition, but we know where to go. We're not kind of blind to it, which I guess is a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I suppose you've got to have that established. Did you say that you're running some gap courses with PSIE qualifications attached to it, and they're going to be running in November? So I guess you've got to have a lot of those things pretty much sorted before those courses go ahead. Otherwise, what are those candidates going to buy into, right?
100%. Yeah. I mean, a lot of those candidates we're setting up with the opportunity for a job offer in Canada, or afterwards.
Oh yeah.
So that for those that have a passport, that will be easier, obviously, because that relationship's already there.
Oh, cool.
Within the PSIC, we know that they can, if they have a working holiday visa, they can work in Japan.
Yeah.
PSIE, PSIC qualification for the first year. But yeah, for sure, for the ones in Europe. Switzerland, I'm hoping that won't be too much of an issue.
No, it shouldn't be. I think it's just a case of educating old mate, what's his name, down in Sion. It's not like he's a long way away from you. You just go and see him, right?
Exactly.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, because this comes down, I think, to the greater issue, isn't it? It depends where you get your gap candidates from, because we've got the same issue here. With recruitment of ski instructors here, it's not so much it's actually the qualification is the secondary thing right now that we have to look at.
Passport.
The number, like you say, the primary thing is the passport, because that's everything right now. And we've had to make a couple of compromises. Say compromise on our team, but we've got a level where we like to recruit at, but you have to sometimes look at people and say, we haven't exactly got the level that we really would have liked, but you've got the right passport, so come on and we'll train you as best we can internally, and hopefully we'll bring you on from there. And that's been my biggest challenge, I'd say, since the sort of the Brexit rules were enforced, because otherwise before that there was just a steady stream of well qualified people that you could just pull out of the hat, right, and they were all fairly interchangeable.
Yeah, that's definitely there. Yeah, well, fingers crossed that might change at some point. We'll see.
Yeah, okay. It would be remiss of me if I didn't ask you about the recent ISIA statement. Those guys just put something out concerning PSIE, which was talking about how they... I think it would look to me like how they assign instructor associations per country. Yeah. I'm guessing, Derek, this probably falls more within you because you understand these things very, very well. But what was that all about, and how where does that leave you?
I guess in reality, the simple answer is all that ISIA are doing there is stating their rules as they exist. Mm-hmm. So their statutes that they currently have clearly say that there can only be one organisation per country that becomes a member of ISIA.
Okay.
But I think the landscape is, it's changing, and I guess we're at the forefront of that change, in the sense that other organizations are starting to exist who are training and certifying, ski instructors in this case. Mm-hmm. So, I think that landscape, it will mean change will happen down the road, but currently that's their structure, and we respect that structure. That's what they've said. So in a way, their statement is really only a statement of fact as to what they currently do.
Can you not?
So
I was going to say, can't you base the professional ski instructors of Europe in a country that doesn't have an existing association?
Well, yeah, I suppose you could.
I'm trying to think of one.
That might be possible.
There might be skiing going on. Yeah.
But it's, as we've been talking about already, the most important thing for somebody who goes through a qualification process is showing the value of that training that they've had and the outcomes that they have. Mm-hmm. And then it's down to employers to decide if they want to employ those people. And in many parts of the world, that is up to the employer. That they're free to do so. So our focus, as we've said, will be on the potential employers. The sort of structures of these organizations is not something we have control over.
No.
But it, as I said, it's a changing landscape. The PSIC already in their first year have a very large membership, and we're going to have a large membership, so we're going to have, between us as organizations, have a fair few members.
Yeah,
going forward. So,
and I'm guessing, presumably, on your website at some point, you're going to end up having a list of all the places where the qualification is recognised anyway. So, I guess it becomes moot whether they enforce their own rule on it or not, because if it's accepted locally, it doesn't really matter, does it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it may prompt some discussions and changes, down the road, but that's always industries evolve over time, and I think that's just the way it happens. We've seen it in other industries as well. I mean, if you take first aid training as an example, there's lots of first aid training providers out there, and all their qualifications are recognized at a certain level.
Yeah.
So in a sense, that's all we're doing, is we're creating another option for people that they can choose from.
Yeah. Okay. And so, where do you guys see? I mean, obviously, the takeoff for the professional ski instructors of Canada has been huge, right? They've got lots of members and they're doing good things. They've, all the stuff is there in place, and it looks like they're going great guns. Where are you guys hoping that this is going to? Are you hoping it's going to do the equivalent thing within Europe?
I guess we are hoping that it is. You're quite right. They've had a lot of success given that they only really started delivering courses last autumn. They went over the milestone of 1,000 members, a while back. Now I'm not sure what their current members are now, but it's that's pretty good for a first year. I don't know if we're going to do as big as that, but I think we're certainly going to get a fair number of members. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and this whole joint membership thing is just going to be such a an attractive thing to people. Being able to, and the portability of the qualifications, that's definitely going to be something that people are interested in.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, tremendous.
It's just being part of a bigger community as well. I think, like Derek said earlier, we're not saying join us and don't be a member of your other association, but when you when you work around the world in the industry, being a member of another organisation, most of us are members of multiple organisations, and if we can create a bigger community within the industry, that's a good thing, I think.
Yeah, sure. And I think the mindset we want to get across to people as well, because there will be people out there who see PSIE as a bit of a threat. Let's not avoid that one. But the reality is the size of the pie can be as big as we all want it to be. Yeah. So we can increase the industry if we're all doing a good job. So if part of our existence helps everybody else to look at themselves and think, well, how can we all be better? Then that's great, because that we want to encourage each other to do the best we can, and and I mean that by every association that exists. So,
for sure.
It can be collaborative, supportive, and we can get more people coming in and increase the size of obviously the public who come skiing, and therefore the need for instructors. So that's the vision, I would say.
Yeah, for sure, and also something that looks a little bit more like something that fits in. I'm really, really excited. That idea of just doing training for the sake of learning, I think is for me, that's just brilliant. And I'm fully on board for something like that. Like if that happens anywhere near me, I'll be there for sure, because I'm keen to learn. And you know what it's like when you pop out of the top of an instructor system, you stop doing that regular sort of course attendance thing that you used to do on your way up. And like I say, for me, that would be just to go and meet like-minded people, keen to learn. It would be something that certainly I would be very, very interested in doing, especially if it doesn't take up, especially if not bang in the middle of the ski season, and also doesn't take 10 days. That for me is super, super interesting. So really good. Tell me, gents, when does all this start to happen?
Well, basically we'll have everything for next winter. That's when it's really taking off. So everything from our licensed professional trainer training to courses all the way through the levels. We're going to have a sort of fairly full program of stuff on offer. Okay.
And then where can people go to find out about that? Presumably you're going to be launching is it going to be part of the Professional Ski Instructors of Canada website, or are you going to have a separate site with all of your info?
No, it's a separate website. It's PSIE.pro.
Okay.
So it's basically the same as the Canadian one, except for the change of the letter.
Yeah, with you.
That'll be is the website. All the information will be there. It has the same look and feel as the Canadian one, but with the obvious stuff that needs to be there.
Okay.
For our setup here.
And when does that go live?
It's going live at the beginning of May.
Okay.
So it's.
All
but
right.
we'll be adding stuff there, throughout the summer. So it's not going to be a totally finished product. That's live, but it's we'll be drip feeding more and more information over the summer months.
Yeah.
In terms of courses and the membership itself. So all the offerings will be there. So as you said, a busy summer for both of us.
If you're
anyways.
If you're tech issues or anything like mine, you're going to have a busy summer. Are you doing? Do I remember us having a conversation about you doing some taster events or anything like that? Was that a thing, or have I?
We are doing taster events. So we've got the one that's happening basically in Trevinia, 4th and 5th of May, and then we've got another one planned. If I'm right, Jamie, I think it's in the autumn at some point.
Yeah, we've got an LPT training in the autumn, so that'll be our first licensed course, licensed professional trainer.
But there's another coming along.
Yeah.
come along and find out about us day as well. That we have planned.
Mm-hmm. And there might also be one in New Zealand in the summer, which will be a PSIC, PSIE collaboration.
Yeah. Oh, cool. All right. Well, fantastic. If I was around on the 4th or 5th May, I would be there, but I'm not. So I'll have to wait until the autumn to come find out what it's all about. But yeah, sounds super interesting, and I'm really, really pleased that you've chosen to share this new venture with me. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Thank you.
And like I say, enjoy your summer. It sounds like you've got a lot of work to do, but yeah, thank you, and I wish you all the very best.